Over 2,500 years ago, in ancient China, during an age of chaos and endless wars, a child was born, a boy who would one day teach humanity how to win battles without fighting. His name was Sun Wu, later known to the world as Sun Tzu, the Master Sun. He was born around 544 BC in the kingdom of Qi, a land of noble families, philosophers, and constant military conflict. From an early age, Sun Wu was quiet, observant, and curious. While other children played in the fields, he watched the movements of soldiers and the strategies of commanders. He noticed how order and discipline could turn chaos into victory. His father served a local lord, allowing the young boy access to tutors and scrolls of philosophy. Sun Wu studied Confucian ethics, learning about virtue and duty, and Taoist wisdom, learning that true strength lies in harmony and adaptation. These lessons would later shape his philosophy that the greatest victory is the one achieved without bloodshed. As he grew older, Sun Wu joined the army of Qi to gain real-world experience. There, he saw not glory but suffering. He saw arrogance destroy great leaders and patience bring triumph to the humble. He began to keep notes, observations about leadership, discipline, and the nature of human behavior. They were the first seeds of what would become his masterpiece. But in Qi, politics were dangerous, and Sun Wu's growing wisdom made others jealous. Eventually, he left his homeland and traveled south to the kingdom of Wu, a rising power led by a young king named Helu, who sought to rebuild his weakened army. Sun Wu arrived carrying a small set of bamboo scrolls. He presented them to the king, his thoughts on strategy, deception, and victory. The king read a few lines and smiled, half amused. He told Sun Wu, "If your principles are so perfect, prove them." The test that followed would become legend. The king ordered Sun Wu to train 200 women from his royal court as soldiers. Sun Wu divided them into two groups and placed one of the king's favorite concubines at the head of each. When he gave the first command, "Turn right," they laughed. He repeated the order. They laughed again. Calmly, Sun Wu said, "If the command is not understood, the fault lies with the instructor. But if it is understood and not obeyed, the fault lies with the soldiers." Then, to the king's shock, he ordered both leaders executed. The courtyard fell silent. When he repeated the order again, the women obeyed perfectly. The king protested. He had not meant for his favorites to die. But Sun Wu replied firmly, "When a general is entrusted with command, he must act according to duty, not sentiment." From that day on, Sun Wu became the supreme commander of the Wu army. He restructured the troops, emphasized discipline, intelligence, and speed. He believed that an army wins not by numbers, by awareness and unity. Under his guidance, the Wu kingdom achieved astonishing victories. In battle after battle, his forces defeated larger, richer enemies such as the mighty state of Chu. He used terrain, deception, and timing as his weapons. He taught that a wise leader attacks the enemy's mind before his body, and that retreat, when done wisely, is not weakness but strategy. Between wars, Sun Tzu returned to solitude, recording his thoughts. 13 chapters, concise, poetic, and eternal. Each one a law of nature, a mirror to human behavior. He called it the art of war. In it, he wrote, "The supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting," and "Know yourself and know your enemy, and you will never fear the result of 100 battles." These were not merely military rules, they were lessons about life, leadership, and self-control. Sun Tzu believed that the greatest warriors are those who win through understanding, not violence. As years passed, his fame spread beyond the borders of Wu. Kings sought his counsel, generals memorized his words, and even philosophers debated his ideas. Yet Sun Tzu himself lived simply. He avoided the royal courts, preferring quiet evenings by the river, teaching a handful of students. He told them, "The greatest battle is the one you fight within yourself." In his later years, Sun Tzu withdrew completely from politics. He watched new kings rise and old ones fall, just as the rivers changed their course. To him, history was proof that arrogance destroys and wisdom endures. Around 496 BC, the great strategist passed away in peace, leaving behind no palace, no army, only words. 13 chapters that would echo across centuries. His teachings traveled from China to Japan to Korea and eventually to the West. 2,000 years later, generals such as Napoleon, MacArthur, and Patton studied his book. Revolutionaries like Mao Zedong drew from his ideas. Even in boardrooms and classrooms today, the art of war is taught as a guide to business, leadership, and decision-making. Sun Tzu became more than a man, he became a philosophy. His message endures because it speaks to something universal, that true power comes from clarity, patience, and wisdom, not destruction. He once wrote, "To win 100 victories in 100 battles is not the acme of skill. To subdue the enemy without fighting, that is the acme of skill." And perhaps that is why his name still lives, because he showed the world that the mind is mightier than the sword. More than 2.5 millennia later, the legacy of Sun Tzu remains unbroken. Every strategy, every plan, every moment of decision carries an echo of his thought. He was not a conqueror, not a tyrant, not a god of war, but a man who turned war into wisdom.